Hi, Silver Soul. Yeah, it wouldn't let me leave a text comment, so that's okay. I'll just make a little video comment here. I totally agree that it is the perception. We define the perceiver and the perceived from the perception, but really the perception is the fundamental unit. When we break it down to the perceiver uh, and the perceived, we're trying to model it, and there might be other ways of modeling, and yet the perception remains as something that needs to be modeled, understood, or worked with, right? So I believe that this also maps rather well to what it looks like in material in physical in physics, where things are never really static and everything is energy exchange and moving. It's the action that turns out to be fundamental. We think there's two objects and the relationship's a property of them. It turns out the relationship seems to be the concrete thing, and each of those entities is the thing that's hard to define. So I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Oh, geez, there was some other point you were making. Um, yes, which I also think is very insightful, and I agree with, which is really, we talk about abstraction. Abstracting is something, we make an abstraction, but really it happens while you're perceiving. This is a very interesting thing from the results of cognitive science in terms of neurology. Lakoff makes a really good point about results in eye neurology, and the fact is that there are fewer nerves coming out through the optic nerve to the brain than there are nerve endings, retinal, cones and rods in the eye. They've already been categorized, and he says this is essentially why we have categorization and abstraction. You see, we already have categorized a bunch of red of cones, which slightly different, amounts of excitement, but they're supposed to detect red, and the brain is already going, okay, those are the same. It's already categorized those, and then the abstraction, of course, is basically the name of the category, the idea behind the category. These are red things, and so the way we abstract, when we get really high level abstractions that do require a lot of thought, it's basically because a thought process is a process of producing perceptions for yourself. You keep producing perceptions, the abstractions naturally drop out. So if you keep thinking about all of the primary evidence that you have, and then you go, oh, I think I've seen an object, and you keep thinking about that, and you just keep thinking about it using your brain, then you will generate abstractions. They may be accurate, they may not be accurate, right? Like the abstractions, to remain material, you need to keep empirically testing your abstractions. You need to work from your abstractions back down into material predictions, and you need to do that, right? There's no guarantee the abstractions you create are at all accurate, but they will be abstractions, and they are guaranteed to at least feel useful, right? Because they're going to interrelate with your interpretations of your perceptions down to the perceptions you actually got, which could be considered material. So they have some relationship to the material, right? But it can be sort of a misleading one, like an abstraction that there's a god puppeteering everything. Okay, well, that god relates to the rain. You think that the god caused the rain, but somewhere the material train of thought will have gone off the tracks if you go into an abstraction that you can't actually make tangible. Okay, somehow it was created from your perceptions, but it was a one-way thing. It got created, it doesn't come back. Our good abstractions go back and forth. They're abstracted from the more raw perceptions, but if they're worthwhile, we can also use them to generate virtual raw perceptions that we then test for and see if we can reproduce and get. Those are predictions or postdictions of facts. Anyway, really good video. This is exactly, well, probably not exactly, but this is pretty much, epitomizes the train of investigation here into, and I call language 7.0 to distinguish this different perspective of language, which brings in speech as action, embodied mind, as well as an active attitude about creating the language we need to say what we need to say. Thanks, Silver Soul. Bye.